Helen here with Eyes on the Game here at RVCA, being joined by the one and only man of the hour, Mr. Jason Parillo. Now, you have been extremely busy, but a big congratulations. RDA just beat Kevin Lee this past weekend, stopped him in the fourth round. What did you think of that performance?
It was a perfect performance. So proud of RDA. He went out there and did what he wanted to do. You know, RDA put so much pressure on himself when he comes to the last two fights. You know, one was a title fight, the other one was, a title contention fight. So, he put so much pressure on himself through all these fights. Fighting is the most important thing in his life. It's all his family and fighting. That's what comes first in his life. And we went out there in leading up, and even after his last fight with Usman, a big part of our conversation was, he needs to relieve a little pressure off his back. He put so much on himself, and it ends up at the end of the day, getting the best of him mentally, and he goes out there and he doesn't perform to his best of his ability. And this fight, he stayed in a real calm place and, fought very intelligently. He really, he brought his experience into play this fight, and it really showed up. And, he didn't put so much pressure on himself. He just knew that he was going out there and try to win in every position he's at and really wear the guy down and get him out of there. And he did exactly what he wanted to do. So, it's wonderful.
Yeah, but where does he go from here? Like you mentioned, he's fought Usman, he's fought Colby Covington. So with this big win over Kevin Lee, like I said, and you said, perfect performance, what does he do? Does he kind of wait, and see if he can get a rematch with Usman, depending on the Usman-Covington situation, or what do you think? Yeah,
ultimately, he was very competitive in both those fights. Those are fights that I've said it in other interviews before, and I'll say it again. Those are fights that I really do believe Hoffa can win. He really can beat those guys, especially, coming off this last victory. It's such a mental sport. All sports is mental at the end of the day when you get to the highest level. And, what this fight has done for his confidence will really come into play in any fight he comes into, in any of his next opponents. Guy like Rafael doesn't really sit around and wait, though. If opportunities come his way, this is how he feeds his family. This is, his ways of living. So, if fights come his way, my guess, knowing Hoffa, he'll take them. Not sit around and sit on the shelf and wait for, the championship fight. But if that comes our way, it'll be amazing, and I think it'll be well deserved. If you look at it, he was number 3 in the world going into that fight. I don't know what that fight did for him as far as moving him on the moving in the top 10, but he's there. And he's a opponent that I don't think anybody out there really wants to take on, to be totally honest, because he's a very dangerous fight, and anybody going in there knows that they got a big chance of losing going against RDA. So we'll see what happens.
But rather than waiting and for him to stay active, who would you like to see him fight? Who would make sense?
I would love to see him fight Colby again, to be totally honest. He doesn't have the title right now, but that was a fight that we let get away from us. Anybody. Obviously Usman as well. I'd love to see him fight for the title again. But you got a lot of, you got a lot of matches in there. We got Tyrone in there. We got, Robbie Lawler still staying in there, even though he does have a win over Robbie. Whatever makes the most sense, whatever puts him in the best, whether it's one fight, 2 fights, or the next fight fighting for a title, that's a fight that I'd like to see him, be involved in. If it's a title contention fight again, that would be amazing. Then he fights for the title the one after, that would be ideal. Or, you know how this game works, Helen. At any moment, fights fall out all the time. There's a lot of...
The Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley fight, Robbie's looking for an opponent.
Yeah, right, that's true. We just did beat Robbie, and this would be Robbie's first fight. Sorry about my phone. Okay. This would be Robbie's first fight since his loss to RDA, if he was to take on RDA again. Is that a fight that, is that a fight that's attractive to people? Of course, that's always going to be a fight. Those two guys are warriors, so... But... Right now, I think Hoffa's got to keep pushing forward and keep working, and that's kind of a pass. We already got our win on Robbie. If that fight came into play, then that's a fight that Hoffa would have to do, or he would do, because Rafa's not the type of guy to say no to people. If anybody knows his personality and knows him, or you just, watch his career, you know that there's a guy that'll fight anybody at any time.
Did you see that jab Conor threw about him on Twitter or posted about him?
I did not see that. Somebody had kind of mentioned it. What was said? Can you tell me what was said?
Why the fight didn't happen because of his foot, but he was saying it was just because it was bruised.
Oh, I actually was not with Rafa during that. That's when he was at lightweight. But he had a real injury in that fight. So at the end of the day, hey, look at that. Who's that?
Chris Cyborg. Is she going to come on in here? Video bomb.
We'll see you, champ. Talk to you.
Well, speaking of Chris Cyborg, though, someone who fought this weekend, Megan Anderson, fought a newcomer in the UFC, Felicia. Felicia stopped her in the first round and then called out Chris Cyborg. Is that someone you would like to see Chris fight?
100%. I'm always game to watch Chris fight anybody. Unfortunately, she did fall short in her last fight, and that's a fight game, and it happens. Was she in a world beater and got outclassed, and it got beat every minute of every round? No, she got caught really early in a fight, and and she was stopped, and that's a fight game. That happens, but I still believe Chris can beat anybody, any girl out there, even Amanda the champion. I truly believe Chris can go out there and beat her in the same manner that she was beaten as well. So hopefully Chris just what the plan is, and I hope her mindset's that way, and I believe it is just keep plugging forward and take on anybody that comes her way.
Who do you think wins between Amanda and Holly, which both have fought Chris?
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to that fight. I definitely think Holly definitely has a style that can beat Amanda. She sits back and will pick her shots a little bit more. You look at a fight with like Valenico. Is that, do I said her name right?
Valentina.
Valentina. There we go. Valentina would who's a crafty girl on her feet and a good kickboxer, Muay Thai girl. Was able to sit back and kind of, show how you can beat Amanda, even though she fell short in those fights. And I think Holly's a little bit bigger, stronger version of that with better movement actually on her feet, with more of a boxing style movement, which, puts her in a better position against a girl like Amanda.
And lastly, what about BJ Penn? He recently fought Clay Guida.
He did? BJ still fighting? BJ Penn?
He is, yeah.
Oh, I was there. That's
I know. I saw you on TV. I think I took a photo or two. Yeah, so what did you make of that? And a lot of fans are wondering, just kind of what is next for him, though.
BJ, who knows what's next for BJ? I have been asked a question about BJ Penn, for the last 13, 14 years, and it's always, the last 6 or 7 where, he's been falling short. People say, is BJ going to fight again? Why is he fighting again? Can you tell BJ not to fight again? It's like, you tell BJ Penn not to fight again. This is his guts. This is his core. This is what he does. We all know BJ Penn because of the fighter that he is, and that just doesn't go away with some guys. Some guys, it's just what it just keeps them alive. You know what I mean? And a lot of times people ask me, to encourage, BJ not to fight again. I think to myself, that's what keeps BJ Penn healthy. That's what keeps BJ Penn's mind right. He's out on an island, and there can be a tremendous amount of distractions out there, and BJ wants to walk out on his own terms. He doesn't want people telling him when not to fight again. So the more you tell BJ Penn not to fight again, the more he's going to say, "Fuck you, I'm fighting again." And that's his personality. That's his mentality. Do I think that he's going to fight again? Yes, I think he's going to definitely put it out there. Do I think the UFC is going to give him a fight again? That I don't know, but his last fight with Clay Guida, I think that was a very winnable fight for BJ. That's a fight that if you saw, even in the first round, I think the judges and a lot of people had BJ win in the first round. It's always been kind of a conditioning thing now with BJ as well. The gas goes and we see a whole different human being out there. So If he does decide to fight again, I would love to see him make his way out here to California so we can, get a proper program together where his conditioning is at where it's supposed to be and where it needs to be.
And we hope that BJ listens and hears this interview. But as always, thank you so much for your time. I know you stay very busy, so I'll let you...
Did we finish that question about Conor McGregor and that in his?
No, but so when I did speak to RDA though, he a few months back he wants that Conor fight, and I think he voiced it again recently.
Well, yeah. Well, ironically enough, Conor's manager was calling me up before the whole bus out. The bus driving accident. And we were having conversations for a couple of weeks talking about trying to put that fight together, which would have been great. Hey, if that's a fight that wants to come into play, that's a fight that RDA would love to have. That's right up his alley. You got to, he would love to put himself in a position where he can fight Conor, because Conor talks shit. Conor plays a game. Conor is the reason why Conor's is he's got a good gift to gab, and he knows how to draw a lot of attention to fights. And all these fighters, especially as long as they've been doing it, they want the attention they deserve. Whether they say it or not, they deserve the recognition for all the hard work that they put in. And if a guy like Conor is going to draw some more attention to RDA, my fighter, I would love to be a part of it.
And that would be at lightweight, correct?
No, it'd be at 170.
Oh, so Conor would have to go back.
Conor's willing to play any weight. Right at the end of the day, why not everybody be comfortable and fight at 170? The Nate Diaz fights were at 170, and both of them had been 155. So the weight class thing I didn't even put into play. I just assumed that he'd be willing to come to 170 and fight him there. And
how would you see that fight playing out?
Well, I never answer a question about my fighter where he loses.
No. Do you think he would win by knockout, by submission?
I think he'd break him down, maybe in a different fashion than he did Kevin Lee, because I don't think Conor would be coming at him with the type of, with takedowns, obviously. I think he'd break him down, on the feet, and maybe, eventually submitting him towards the end of the round, or towards later in the fight.
Well, hopefully that fight does get made, because, like I said, Conor did tweet that. I'll send you the tweet.
Okay,
the tweet.
Please do. Yeah.
Okay, and
I'm not on tweet. I don't.
Twitter, Instagram. But thank you so much for your time. Always great to catch up.
Thank you, Helen. Always great seeing you in the Mighty Schmo. Cheers.